Hello, scumbags. This is Andres Garcia from fattyfantheories.com, exclusively for Rebel Scum Podcast. Today's fan theory is I'm going to cover Snoke. Snoke, a name that has been boggling Star Wars fans and spell check programs for over a year now. Since he was introduced, fans from all over the world have been asking questions about him. Who is Snoke? How is he connected to the Skywalkers? Is he connected to the Skywalkers? And is he tired of snakes? Fucking base. Obviously referring to the fan theory that Mace Windu is Snoke. Putting that theory aside, let's talk the most obvious question. Who is Snoke and what is his true identity? Now, some theories have been popping up all over the internet. Things like he's a reincarnated Darth Plagueis, reincarnated Darth Vader, Mace Windu, Emperor Palpatine, Jar Jar Binks, and so on. Hell, for all we know, he could be a Force-sensitive, sentient Rancor out for revenge against the Skywalkers for what Luke did to his father in Episode 6. I want to throw a new name in the hat for the candidate of Snoke's identity. Fanboys, I beg you, please listen to everything I have to say before you decide to hunt me down and do to me what Han did to that Tauntaun in Episode 5. My idea is that Snoke is Maz Kanata. Let's start off by looking at some basic facts. As per Episode 7, Snoke is revealed to have seen the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire. This places him to be alive and kicking before the events of Episode 1. As soon as I said Episode 1, I know some of you threw up in your mouth. Give you a second. There we go. So, since he must have been alive before Episode 1, we know he must be old as f***. Now, you know who else is old as f***? Maz Kanata. In fact, Maz says something very identical to what Snoke said. Through the ages, I've seen evil take many forms. The Sith, the Empire. Today, it is the First Order. Their shadow is spreading across the galaxy. We must face them, fight them, all of us. With this line, we can establish that not only has she been present for much of the rise and fall of the Empire, but she has taken an interest in it over the years. Another similarity between both of them is that they are both Force sensitive. Now, Wikipedia, I suck as a Wookiee impression, right, has entries for both Snoke and Maz, and that they are both Force sensitive. Not only is she Force sensitive, but also a Force user. In a deleted scene, the VFX supervisors talk that there was a scene that didn't make the movie. The scene is that Maz uses the Force to bring down the roof on attacking stormtroopers. With this bit of information, we can confirm that she's more powerful than she appears. We also know that she's not a Jedi because she says it herself. I know the Force, but I'm no Jedi. So, we can conclude that both Snoke and Maz are both old and they're both Force users. And age is the only solid clue that we have as to Snoke's true identity. I mean, the only other character that fits that description, old and Force user, is Yoda. But Yoda's too busy being dead, but not busy enough to be marketed, even though he was not in the movie. Okay, so now we have established that they're both old and that they are both Force users. Big deal, as some of you are probably saying. That doesn't prove anything. Well, allow me to bring up a few more points before you decide I should join Boba Fett in the Sarlacc pit. I want to talk about the blue lightsaber, the one that anyone who uses it gets their hand chopped off, which is probably the reason why Rey gave it back to Luke at the end of Episode 7. Spoilers! When we last saw this infamous lightsaber, it was falling down some hole in Cloud City at the end of Episode 5. Now, the question that's been raised is, how did Maz even acquire that lightsaber? She says herself that that's a story for another time. To me, there is a bit of an obvious answer, and that is when she acquired it from her time when she was a smuggler. After all, she was nicknamed the Pirate Queen, and she is described as collecting trinkets which she considers valuable and stores them. Now, This is just a theory that really can't hold much water, but I think that she was in Cloud City when everything went down. She, being force sensitive, was drawn to the lightsaber, possibly because it was still attached to a certain Skywalker's hands. Why does it make sense that she would be in Cloud City? I think the reason is because a lot of smugglers do go to Cloud City, Han knowing being one of them, and Lando being another. I think it's safe to say that Maz, being a Force user, knows the importance of a lightsaber and thus made the effort to keep it safe and hidden. The only time she revealed it was obviously when Rey showed up. Now, I don't want to dive any further into the lightsaber because I use that for another theory. Rather, I want to talk about the existence of the lightsaber to prove my point. Now, to prove that, I want to address a big plot hole. In episode 7, there is a scene where Kylo tells Finn that lightsaber, it belongs to me. Now, it seems to me that Kylo already knew of the existence of the lightsaber, but how does he know the existence of the lightsaber? It begs that question. Who told Kylo about the blue lightsaber and that it was still around? As far as Luke, Leia, and Billy D are concerned, that lightsaber is long gone. Now, Han does have a functioning relationship with Maz, so why would she not approach Han at some point and say, "Hey Han, your space wizard brother-in-law, is this his?" No, rather she kept it hidden. So, unless Snoke and Maz have a line of communication, there is no other explanation, because there is no one left to tell Kylo about it. And as far as I know, Kylo and Maz have never spoken. I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is the most obvious point against the theory. Maz wants to wipe out and fight against the First Order. She also talks about the Sith and how they're evil. Know who she fails to mention though? The Knights of Ren. Supreme Leader Snoke, as we know, is in charge of the Knights of Ren. Now, the Knights of Ren, it is not 100% clear what their goal is, but we know they are 100% devoted to whatever that goal is, and yes, they are considered to be part of the dark side of the Force. Now, this is just an assumption, but it is possible that Snoke is maneuvering the First Order, and as Maz is guiding the rebels to fight against each other. What's the end game? Well, either to wipe out or weaken both sides, ushering the way for whatever goal the Knights of Ren have. I want to come to my final point here, and one of the most obvious ones is the appearance. They don't look anything alike. I mean, for one, Snoke has a giant scar on his forehead, and Maz has no scar, right? I mean, also, Maz is Donald Trump orange, as Snoke is as white as bread. Plus, there is a major difference in size. First, I mean, Maz is to Snoke to what Muggsy is to Shaq for you basketball fans out there. I want to try explain the last 2 points, the color and the size, and I can do that with one simple word: hologram. Hologram. Now, throughout the Star Wars movies, we have seen very detailed holograms, but one thing that they all have in common is they all have that ghostly white projection, right? Heck, even characters of color still show up with that ghostly white projection. The hologram also what explains the difference in size. They could be projected bigger, for all we know, right? Since we have not seen Snoke other than hologram form, there is no exact information as to his true size. For all we know, he could be as small as Jiminy Cricket, or he could be pulling a Wizard of Oz, do not peek about the man behind the curtain. Continuing on the hologram, this actually wouldn't be the first time Maz used a hologram as a form of communication. After the Battle of Yavin, Maz hired a mercenary named Saponza, right, to stop the Empire on collecting too much information on her, which kind of begs the question, why is she so nervous about the Empire gathering information from her? I mean, she is, after all, a smuggler, but maybe she has more secrets that she wants to keep hidden. Obviously, one of them being that she's a Force user. Though, that still does not stop the fact that her hands are not exactly clean. She did hire a mercenary to take care of some problems. Onto the scar on his forehead. Some of you are probably thinking, sorry buddy, there's nothing that you can come up with which would explain that. I mean, her full forehead is shown, whilst Snoke's full forehead, you can see the scar very clearly, right? Well, there is one way that we can actually do this, and it's a very simple answer. It's actually called Force Phantom. Now, Force Phantoms is a Sith power that allows one to create an image of another living being, and more importantly, appear to be any way they want. So Maz could be projecting an old, scarred man, or it could be a true representation of herself. Now, if you didn't buy the hologram explanation, then the Force Phantom explanation fits this just as well. As per the article, right, on the Force Phantom, the last Force user to perfect this was Darth Vader. During her long life, it is entirely possible that she learned this ability from Darth Vader, or she learned it just like how Darth Vader learned it, because after all, Darth Vader was able to teach this ability to someone even after his death. I know some of you might be confused by what I'm saying, so I'll try to wrap it up. Snoke is a projection of Maz Kanata. Maz is an ancient Force user. She's the one that told Kylo about the blue lightsaber. She's the one that promoted him to the Knights of Ren. Being both Snoke and Maz, she can use his or her influence to make the Rebels and the First Order wipe each other out, thus clearing the way for whatever the Knights of Ren's ultimate goal is. I hope you enjoyed this theory, or at least made you think about the possibility of it. Yes, I know it's harebrained and a little far-fetched, but damn, it's fun to just look at these facts.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.